Good afternoon for the Europeans. Good morning to the Americans. This is a tea time, our regular weekly update on what's happening within the Slitherine world. And there's a lot happening this week. Not because we've announced something. That's usually what happens in the tea times recently. We've announced something on the Tuesday and we come on a tea time to wrap things up and to update on what's the latest there. I have the chart with all the releases. Just bring it back on screen so that we can see what the situation is, and so that I can talk to you about one big thing that's happening today. You see that I think one of the questions last week was why are Armor Brigade DLC and the Fantasy General Evolution DLC coming out the same day? Well, today is a big day for us because in just about 1 hour 40 minutes, the big publisher sale start on Steam. So you'll be having a lot of opportunities to purchase games, complete collections, complete bundles. There's going to be a lot of very important stuff released. So the DLCs releasing for Fantasy General and Armor Brigade are just the tip of the iceberg. Just tune in on Steam at around 6 p.m. UK time, and you'll see a lot of new things. Just to give you a very broad idea of what's coming up, I've asked the production guys to send me their schedule for builds that are being worked on this week, and I've got it as an image for you guys. If you can bring it on screen, that image that we've prepared earlier on. So this was the latest. These were the builds that we were working on. And this is the number of things that we're sending out for around between yesterday, today, and tomorrow. There are many games that are. If you can go back to the planned, the Hexagon calendar, there are games like ICBM, Stirring Abyss, Filigroid 2 Medieval, the whole Strategic Command series. Shadow Empire, they will all receive, and many more, they will all receive big updates, either features, new content, new stuff coming out. There's a load of things, and we will be covering all these changes, all these updates tomorrow in a special tea time that is going to happen during the sale at around the same time, so 5 p.m. European time, 4 p.m. UK time. Tune in there because we'll go through all these changes, all these updates in detail. Suffice to say, if you're playing one of these games already, you'll actually see these updates coming to you. So you don't have to worry about knowing about them tomorrow, but we'll roll these out to you guys so that, for instance, one of the things that we're rolling out is the ability for Filigroid medieval players to play against ancient armies, just to give you an idea of, of the stuff that's coming out. So make sure that you're joining us tomorrow at the same time. But today is the release day for Armor Brigade and for DLC and for Fantasy General Evolution DLC. So before we go and cover in these, especially Fantasy General in detail, we have a guest today, Jan Wagner from owned by Gravity Studio, the developers of Fantasy General 2. I wanted to remind you, this is the little chart. You see that this little creative there is the creative for this year's sale. You'll see this coming up in a lot of different websites around the weekend. And games, all the catalog is going to be discounted except the most recent releases. So it's going to be except for Filigroid 2 Medieval and Combat Mission Black Sea. Everything else is going to be discounted. So you'll see there's a lot to be excited about. A number of questions I'm seeing, just the recent words too in July. Yes, that's the date we're gearing towards. We are now going to open the next phase, the next wave of beta in about a couple of weeks' time. So make sure you're subscribed to the beta. We will also be giving you more updates on Distant Worlds in a couple of weeks' time with more material. So there's going to be more gameplay showed, a new trailer. We're working on some very cool stuff. Hell will be also discounted. Everything's going to be discounted. So really, just jump there and see, and see what you like and grab it. We are all excited about this big event. So glad to be sharing all this joyful gameplay with you guys. So Fantasy General 2 Evolution. So this is the third DLC. This is the third installment in the series. We've got a 2 minutes explanation of what the DLC is about, and we'll jump back in with Jan Wagner to have a little chat about the product.
Fantasy General 2 Evolution is the third expansion for the epic fantasy strategy game, Fantasy General 2. Drown your enemies as you take command of the lizard folk, fearsome tribal warriors who consume their enemies or sacrifice their own young to evolve and grow. Lure your enemies into the water and set up ambushes in normally impassable sea tiles to leverage the strength of your amphibious army. As you gain power and resources, you'll be able to evolve your lizard folk army to a formidable force capable of taking on any threat by water, land, and air. Anything can be beaten, even if it screams no. The DLC comes with a 14-mission-long, highly variable campaign, with the detailed and engaging storytelling you've come to expect from Fantasy General 2. Only you can decide whether the next tribal leader you capture will go on to be a valuable ally or a delicious snack. Evolution also introduces a new playable hero, Slag, to both campaign and onslaught mode. Over 20 new items, as well as plenty of new marine-based units, such as giant crabs, sharks, and a fleet of warships. Consume enemy heroes and even allies for evolution points. This rare resource allows you to take powerful, distinctive upgrades that have major impacts, such as gaining the ability to move on land as if you were in water, major stat upgrades, and even evolving units to entirely new creatures. Last but not least, the DLC adds a new map theme, the Archipelago. Fight your battles in a dangerous marine environment. Tropical beaches have never been so deadly.
All right, here he is, Jan Wagner. The designer, owner, everything. You're owned by gravity.
Yeah, I'm the everything of owned by gravity.
How's things, Jan? How's things in a corner of the world?
We're good. I mean, yeah, we're locked down like everybody else, but fortunately, being working in the digital sphere means we work at home as well as in the office. So yeah.
Yeah, third DLC, first one to be out of the general edition. So the first one to be available to everyone as a purchase. What is new? What is new in Evolution? What was your goal when you started developing Evolution? Yeah, I think we're having issues with audio. Let me. What I'll do is, yeah.
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 Again.
Yeah.
I can hear you through.
Yeah.
We're trying to not only give you an additional gameplay, but we're trying to give you a different way of experiencing the game. So one of the key things for us always is to allow you a new way of you part of the sort of normal gameplay that you've experienced. You have to learn new tactics. In this case, with a lizard, it's really a completely new landscape, where before every unit was sort of a land unit, or you had aerial support, but by and large land was where you moved, and then rivers are obstacles, and the sea was obstacle. And in water and working in ambushes and stuff. And that's a very, very different experience. And you'll get to see that when you play the game, that that we had to rethink the whole way we built our maps and everything else. Quite happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I think there's some issues with connection. One of the things you were mentioning is, you know, adding new features, I mean, adding new gameplay. How does that impact the balance of the overall experience? There's a bit of desync, but let's see.
Balancing wise, yeah, this is, sorry for that. We can't. I'm hearing to Twitch and then I'm answering. That's the 2 seconds that Twitch takes. So balancing wise, what we have is the different way to approach this as a player. So it's not only about the numbers, so different unit strengths. Lizards are by and large weaker in the initial phases. So when you start out, you've got quite a few units that are quite weak versus everybody else almost. So you'll have to be able to use ambushes. You have to lure them into the water where you are at the advantage. So this is not so much a numbers balancing as it is something for the player to learn a new tactic to approach it. Later on, lizards are much more versatile than any other faction you have. So you can train them in different ways. There's evolution points that actually give you the ability to give them new stuff that they can do and that they can add into the battle, that will be allowing them to, well, first of all, to be stronger than other units, but also to have different ways of approaching them. So again, it's not so much a numbers balancing, it's more a how can we teach you or give you a new way of playing the game.
It is interesting. Now I'll try and ask the question in bits so that you can start answering whilst you listen to the rest of the. But it is interesting that there's, you know, the first DLCs were very much about the storyline. Now we're tackling a completely different approach, which is, you know, new features, new ways of playing the game. Do you see that this is the evolution for the game, that you are going towards that, you know, where the story is important, but you also want to add new ways of playing the game so that more people are actually, you know, interested in, you know, trying it out?
Yeah. I mean, story is a big part of it still. This is a difference. We're trying to sort of have the story match the tactical challenges or the new way of playing the game. But what we try to do as well is expand the features, not only on a sort of on the battle scale. So not only about giving you a different army, but also we are adding new features to the way we build campaigns. So the campaigns get more flexible. The initial story campaigns were a little more linear, where you really had sort of a story arc of a specific hero. And now what we're giving you with Evolution is actually we're opening up the way the whole campaign is built. So it's much more flexible. It's a little between Onslaught, which was sort of semi-randomized campaign and the story campaign that you normally have. But it's interesting because now your actions actually change a lot in the way the missions and the campaign develop. So it's not only the actions actually determine which missions you will see. So when you play it the next time and you make different decisions, you'll actually see different missions being available to you. So we're expanding the way we can have the story interact and evolving the way we can affect the gameplay.
Right. I think one of the interesting things that this game allows is really sort of sky's the limit really. You can come up with all sorts of very cool ideas, but everything has to be integrated very well with the core system you started with. Was it 2 years ago when the game launched? How hard is that? How hard is it to match your wildest design dreams with with what the core game is and how it plays?
I think one of the things that is an advantage for us is that we have a fantasy game, which allows us a lot more freedom. Now, if you've got a lot of historic games in your library, that means you have certain expectations about how things are supposed to work. You can't, make a big jump. On a fantasy game, we've got a very flexible base structure. So the current way the game is built allows us to do a lot of things with units. We have aerial units, we can have swimming units, we have magic. So there's a wide field of things to do. The key for us is that it needs to, as you said, needs to integrate back. So all of the units that we have now and the new faction, the Lizard faction, for example, will also be playable in Onslaught. So we'll always need to have an eye to, well, does this break previous ways of playing the game? Does this break previous missions? If you had a flyer force, for example, that could fly all over the map immediately, that would be a problem for some of the missions that we have in Onslaught. So tying that back to the original, and even in multiplayer, you've got the Lizard faction available now. So we need to make sure that if you play versus another faction, they're both viable but also not unbeatable. So that certainly sort of ties us to making sure that it's all in line. On the other hand, we also want, as I said, we want every faction to have its specific flavor, its specific way of playing the game, and for the Lizards, it couldn't be only just, well, they're in water. So they needed other things as well. So they've got a very special relation between themselves. For example, lizards feed on their own young. They feed on other people too, but they also eat themselves. So in this, you have units that when you lose them, you actually gain liquid mana, and that mana can be used then to upgrade other units. So in the way you want them to die, but they're also units you paid for and that you created and that you have experience, so you don't want them to die. And then there's this interesting dynamic where you go like, okay, I'll use that for an ambush. I'll let it die because it's fine. I want one of those guys to die so I can take liquid mana, but this one I really want to stay alive. So it's interesting decisions being sort of mixed into that.
Yeah.
And that's a new mechanic that we also had to carefully balance, because it can quickly go into, well, I'm just throwing stuff at the enemy and harvesting the liquid mana and getting even better while it's doing it. So that shouldn't have been the case. So we had to use that new mechanic in a proper way and looking at how it affects the other elements of the gameplay.
Well, thank you very much, Jan. Fantasy General 2 Evolution deploys in just around an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes on Steam and on all our other stores. You can basically find it everywhere you want. So you don't have any excuses. Thanks for your time. Thanks for answering the questions. And we'll see you very soon for more announcements, because there's a lot more in development, right? So there's a lot more surprises to come with this franchise. So we hope to see you soon in these screens very soon.
Yep.
Ciao. Now, of course, I I owe you a few more answers for previous questions, but I just thought whilst Jan was talking that sometimes I'd really like to be in one of these meetings where they come up with these very interesting gameplay mechanics and things, because they are the juice of our job. And being in marketing, I don't get to participate in many of these, and usually I don't understand things. So very interesting to hear from the developers themselves that, you know, what the challenges of creating these DLCs. In stuff like information, I owe you. I owe you one on pre-orders for Warring East. I told you last week that we were going to open pre-orders for Warring East 2. Cut long story short, you know, we've got like, there's a number of issues in shipping this big chunky 520 pages manuals from the printer to us with this COVID situation. So the game is definitely releasing at the end of March, and the problem is that we are having to sort of ship these chunky manuals to our warehouses, and they're taking an inordinate amount of time to do that. It's taking us a long time to do that. So before we actually open the pre-orders, we want to be able to give you the proper information. You know, if it's about waiting, you know, 2 more weeks or 4 more weeks, whatever, but at least you got the information when you order the product, if you want to order the digital version or the manual version as well. That's something that we don't want to tell you something and then go back and say, you know, we made a mistake, you know, you got to wait another 6 weeks for your manual. So that's the main reason why these are not these pre-orders are not open yet. On Armored Brigade, so same Armored Brigade, the nation pack Czechoslovakia against Czechoslovakia and the Netherlands is releasing at the same time as Fantasy General 2 Evolution, so at 6 p.m. UK time on Steam. I think it's been already deployed, or if not, it's shortly going to be deployed on the Matrix Game Store. So again, this is the third, it's just a very interesting coincidence, the third DLC for Armored Brigade. This includes, of course, the two Czechoslovakian and Dutch armies. It also includes, for the first time, we actually include a campaign. This is the first time we include a campaign on the DLC for Armored Brigade. It is an experiment. We see that a lot of players have been asking for campaigns, although the game is very much like it's almost like a sandbox. You know, you pick your area you want to fight and then fight your battles. But this is an interesting experiment to see, you know, if that is successful, and if that works, then we'll probably think about doing more in the future. On more, if you've got more questions, just list or send them over in the chat, because we've got a little bit of time to answer these in the next few minutes. Other things I wanted to say, there is a set of streams coming out. Can you give me there's a set of new upcoming streams. So after this, we've got, of course, Fantasy General 2 Evolution stream with Hexabu at 6:30 p.m. Well into the sale, we've got Armored Brigade, the DLC with Das Tactic, with fan favorite Das Tactic. Tomorrow we have Panzer Corps 2 1941 at 6 p.m. with Gamer. And at 8 p.m. we've got again Armored Brigade with XTRG, so very different play styles for the same content. And on Saturday we've got at 6 p.m. we've got Command with our usual traditional, now probably longest running show on Earth, Command Modern Operation stream with Kushan. As we speak, there is a big war game happening in Quantico, Virginia. And our boss of all, Ian McNeil, is there in the US running the war game with the military. And next week at tea time we'll have Jason Jones, who's our defense program manager, he will be coming with news about how this big important war game was carried out in Quantico, and he'll be telling us the stories about this thing. I'm very excited about it. First time Jason will be with us and tell us about a lot about these defense programs we're running. It's really interesting. No plan for Stirring Abyss? Yes, plans for Stirring Abyss. Absolutely yes. There is an update coming out for Stirring Abyss today with the sale, and it will include more content, more features, more stuff. So that's definitely one that is joining the band in the Steam sale. Will the Slitherine sale be only on the official store or on Steam as well? No, this is a Steam-only sale. So this is the publisher weekend. It will be from today at 6 to Monday afternoon, and that's our slot. So you'll find it on the homepage. We've got loads of stuff happening. There's streams for every product. There's discounts. There's Gladys goes out at I think 75% discount. There's discounts for Core. There's discounts for Fantasy General. A lot of stuff happening. And can we pre-order War in East 2 and just wait till you get around sending us the manual? Well, yes, Scooter, yes, that would be the goal, but we want to be able to tell you when the manual will actually be available, so that when you actually purchase a pre-order, you actually know how long you have to wait. Because if you don't want to wait, then you can order your digital copy and then maybe order your manual later. That's basically the question we're trying to answer. Yeah, already a Steam news hit item on the Stirring Abyss update. Yes, I mean, we started deploying all these updates yesterday afternoon, so you'll see some of these already deployed, and we'll deploy more as we speak, and as we approach the Steam sale. So all the questions for Primetide answered by Jan in the chat. So I won't try answering any of these. And so before I leave you to the stream, and if there's no other question, before I leave you to the Fantasy General 2 Evolution stream, a reminder: we'll be back at 4 p.m. UK time tomorrow here to talk about all these updates, all the stuff that's new. A reminder that there is the Field of Glory 2 Medieval tournament that is starting on Monday, is still open for subs, where I think we've gotten about another 30 slots available. We're about 260, 270 already booked. More, there is a new tournament because we've implemented, the guys at Fury have implemented the tournament system within Strategic Command. So you can now subscribe to the very first Strategic Command World War I tournament on the Slitherine site, slitherine.com/tournaments. Thanks, Robbie, for posting the link. And it's my turn now to let you go to your gaming, because you've got some money to spend on the Steam store in a few moments. It's got about 45 minutes, or an hour and 15 minutes. It will all be live, so make sure that you grab your game, and I will see you tomorrow.